The CONCACAF W Championship has officially started with bad news for Mexico, great news for the U.S. women's national team, at least on paper, winning 3-0 against Haiti. But we have to start with Mexico. Katia, Castorena, and Cristina Alexander with you to break it down now what happened just this week with the mission, of course, to be able to finish the tournament with a golden ticket, not only to the World Cup, but also to the next Summer Olympics. There it is. Mexico falls 0-1 against Jamaica. And like we already mentioned, U.S. women's national team with that 3-0 against Haiti. Let's start with Mexico, with Mónica Vergara, who said there was no excuses for what happened last night. Katia, but can you find any of those excuses to really understand this first bad result for the Mexicans?
Definitely not, Cristina, because when we know that this tournament is the tournament that you had been working for, looking towards the goals of being back in a World Cup for the Mexican side, when you're the home team where you wanted to start on the right foot this first game. It was the most important game against Jamaica to pave the way to secure that direct ticket to the World Cup, and starting like that in the first game. I know it's soccer, anything can happen, but when you look at the exhibition of the Mexican side, there are things that you just cannot understand. And Mónica Vergara went on to the press conference right after the game and acknowledged that every critic and everything that was coming her way, she was responsible. And of course, because to me, what we saw on the field is not what we had seen from the Mexican side. So you don't understand why in this game, that is the most important game, they made so many changes to the formation, putting players in different positions. So when you see that individually the players did not shine, I think it goes back to that formation, to that choice of the head coach in this case. When they wanted to find a way, they said, to battle what Jamaica would offer with the speed, with the physicality when it came to their forwards. But I think that that's where the mistake comes in, because you put your players in a position where they could not succeed because they weren't comfortable. They didn't really know what to do because it's not where they usually play. And then on top of that, you don't make the right adjustments, the substitutions at halftime, when you saw that the first half was not working, where you could have been down 3-0 at that point, because you also had given a penalty kick and they had counterattacks that they missed. So I think that's where the responsibility comes for Mónica Vergara, because she didn't have a good reaction either.
Yeah, absolutely. And with those counterattacks that you mentioned, I noticed a lot of the defenders. And of course, the last thing you want your players to do is to be chasing their rivals. I saw a lot of chasing, especially from the defenders who have so much experience as well in their teams, which of course includes a very important name like Rebeca Arnal. So I don't understand why we didn't see more organization, why we saw the lack of goals. And I think that goes back to not only who isn't on this list for this tournament, which of course the standout is Charlyn Corral, and of course the name of Desiree Monsiváis comes up, but also the players that Mónica Vergara had available on the bench, Katia.
Definitely. When you see, first off, that line of three defenders in the back that was struggling, like you said, chasing the ball, and they didn't make the adjustments. And then up top, when Ordóñez was not working, wasn't finding the rhythm, and then you look to the bench and you have Katy Martinez, Katy Killer, the player that scored the most goals in the qualifying tournament, to be in this position, to be in the CONCACAF W Championship, and she's on the bench and she did not play one single minute. You also have on the bench Licha Fernandez, who was the Golden Boot for 2 years for two tournaments in a row in the Mexican League. So it's those things that are just like inexplicable, and that you cannot understand what happened there. And then when the substitutions finally come, and then Licha Cervantes goes in the field, Ordóñez stays, we do not see Katy. Then Caro Jaramillo, her teammate in Chivas, gets subbed off. I mean, it's those movements and those changes that that you don't understand, because we still were not seeing any connections, any reaction, nothing from the Mexican side at that point. Monica Vergara said, it's like I talked to the players after the game, and we all understand that there's tournament left, yes, but we cannot give 20 minutes, the first 20 minutes of the game and then expect a good result. I'm like, 20 minutes? They gave out the entire match.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Ordóñez, and we're not at the point for any team for that matter to say, well, I want to give her a little bit more confidence, so I'm going to keep her on for a little bit longer, because we know how crucial not only these minutes are, but of course these results are. And that's why this is so bad for Mexico to have started this way, because along the road, they have to now try to get results against a really complicated team like we know is a U.S. women's national team. And I want to touch a little bit on now what's down the road specifically. Yeah, of course, against Haiti, who just suffered that 3-0 loss against the United States. But then on the 11th of July, against the U.S. women's national team, which if they can't get a positive result now against Haiti, is going to be practically impossible against the U.S. women's national team. And I don't like using that word, that it's going to be impossible against the U.S. women's national team, but it's going to be pretty tough against a team that knows what they're playing, that has really experienced players. But that's another thing that I want to touch on, Katia, is the result that we saw last night against Haiti. Is that a fair result, what you see on paper? Is that what you saw during the game for the U.S. women's national team?
It was not the best exhibition from the U.S. national team, understanding that there's also a transition with young players coming in, and we still saw the veterans being vital for this U.S. women's national team, with Alex Morgan scoring that brace in the first half, and then Megan Rapinoe switching things up when she came in as a sub in the second half. But this U.S. women's national team struggled a bit. Even Alex Morgan admitted it after the game, that it was not as clean as they would have liked. They made mistakes on defense. They even gave Haiti a penalty kick that they ended up missing. The midfield was lost at times. So I think there's still a lot of room for improvement for this U.S. women's national team. However, the talent that they have, that even though you don't have your best game, when you're facing other CONCACAF teams that are not quite at your level, they still found a way to win 3-0, which gives you pretty much a breather to try to fix things and adjust, looking into what's coming next, because it's definitely going to get tougher as the games go by, especially when you're trying to think about what's going to be ahead in the semifinals and then a potential final against Canada if we go all the way down the road for this tournament. So it wasn't the best showing for the U.S., but still they managed to get a win, and that it's always positive, and then you can just adjust knowing that you already have those 3 points and those 3 goals.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, you can't sleep, you can't power nap, you can't anything on the U.S. women's national team. Even if they didn't have their best day, still have that 3-0 result. And of course, like you said, it's a little bit different when we talk about Mexico, because of course we know that the mission now for the Mexicans is to get back to that international stage, when the U.S. women's national team is just so used to doing that. And that's something that was so clear as well in this result and what's coming down the road. And we know that the U.S. women's national team has on their mind, and maybe, yeah, it's a little bit of revenge against Canada. And why not think that they could take this whole tournament and, of course, return to that World Cup stage that they know so well, that they've won so many times. So here it is now. The top 2 finishes in each of the group will advance into the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. The 5th and 6th place finishers will earn berths to the 10-team Interconfederation Playoff Tournament. And of course, the tournament winner also claims automatic berth to the 2024 Olympic Games. 2nd and 3rd place finishers will play off for CONCACAF's 2nd and final Olympic berth. And the tournament winner in the Olympic qualifier will also qualify directly to the 2024 W Gold Cup. So there's a lot at stake here. And we know that's why it was so important. And that's why, and we're not even being pessimistic, we're being realists, because we knew that Mexico was going to struggle at some point in this summer's tournament. Of course, we just didn't expect it right off the bat. Against Jamaica, which of course we have to give them credit to, because Jamaica was really close to that second or even that third goal. So of course it's going to be an interesting now road to what they have left in Monterrey, Nuevo León, and the fans have to show up for Monica Vergara's team. So this is barely the start. We're going to be here to talk about it match by match and to of course describe a little bit how these groups are moving along to what you just saw. Not only the World Cup ticket, but also an Olympic ticket.